conversation with character to reflect on my past and present, aware of character defects.
Let's fucking do this.
Oh, my boy.
All right.
The passion, the power, the purpose of unwoven recovery, unity, service, 1 year token.
Welcome to Conversation with Character. I am here with Pedge Rajkovic. He is Serbian mob. I'm sure this guy's got a story. Let's get into it, man. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your upbringing.
How you doing? Yeah, well, came to the United States when I was a little kid. So it was hard for me to adapt, speaking a different language. But the neighborhood that I grew up in had a lot of former Yugoslavian Republic, people. And I grew up in Bushwick, Brooklyn, which was heavily, predominantly Italian. And from there, my parents, and I had a really bad thing with my parents. My dad was an alcoholic, beat on my mom, beat on me, sadistic, effort. It is what it is. My parents got divorced. My mom finally left him for the last time, final time. And she moved me into an area called Glendale. Glendale is again, heavily predominantly Italian, but nobody Serbian or from the former Yugoslavia. So it was I got teased, I got beat on, I got jumped, I got bullied. My mom put me in karate. From there, I basically learned to defend myself, broke a nose, and the rest is history. That's how I got my reputation after that.
Hell yeah, man. So, I have a friend in Serbia, and he said that the Rajkovic name is it's a well-known name as far as a Serbian.
It's a well-known name.
Y'all very infamous out there.
Yeah, my last name pretty much goes back about 700 years that I could, trace it back. Yeah, I went back in 2007. I was so curious because I was just I really want to know, is there any, because the Ottoman rule was for 600 years. So is there any Ottoman in me? Is there any Turkish? Is there any other? And I come to find out great grandfather came from Montenegro. And then my great grandfather came from Kosovo. And that's just kind of when you start doing, it's 600-700 years. So then when I went back home, I went to that town in Montenegro. And there's a village named Rajkovic. And I just was in shock. So I went in there and I'm going to a local cafe and it's everybody on the street has my facial features and stuff. And I'm this could be my family, my cousins
walking around.
Yeah. And I met a man and we started talking, and get this is so incredible. We're talking. And the guy goes, so where are you from now? It's well, my dad's from Bosnia. I tell him the name of the village where my grandfather came from. And he goes, hold up a second. He goes, do you happen to know the name of your great-great-grandfather? And I said, my uncle says it's this name. He goes, holy shit. He goes, was he a this, when you go from village to village and you sell your wares, like art stuff and this, he would buy stuff at the port, and then he'd go all throughout the area. So I was yeah. I go, that's what he was. That's called the Trgovac. I go, yeah, that's what he was. He goes, we're cousins. I go, what? He goes, my great-great-grandfather had a brother, and and then they just went from there. And I was just in shock. He invited me to the house. It was incredible. I looked at everybody. We had the same facial features. It was just unreal, And then I couldn't enter Kosovo at that time because of what was going on, but I did back in the 90s, go in certain areas, and I made connections with people, and I reached out to them, and they went to the town where they have all the records in a big book for hundreds of years, and they looked up my name and they told me what village my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather came from, and it was just insane because in the book it writes, who's the man, who's the woman, what did they give birth to? And then those kids, they're also put in the registry.
Wow.
This one, and it just went on from there. So if you look at the map from Kosovo, it goes from Kosovo, it goes into Montenegro, all along the coast and the Dinaric Mountains, and it goes into Bosnia and into parts of Croatia. So my family's strewn throughout the whole area, So it was a cool thing to find out in 2007, So I'm very proud of my last name, and my name, when you break it down, means from the heavens. So we're a heavenly people. I guess we're warriors for hundreds of years. But yeah, on the other side of my family, we have a lot of criminals,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of criminals back home. But there's also people that work in police or military. So my family's either one of three, either like predominantly hardworking farmers, and then the other one is like military or in like some kind of governmental position. And then there's the crooked side, which
That's what I was
not
gonna
that
say.
much, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
Not
I don't
that-
know
I
how
mean-
much you can talk about, but my friend, the guy I was talking to in Serbia, said that, I mean, like the real mob, they're cops.
Yeah, no, for real, they're cops. They're in on it. Back when I went in 2007, they were looking for that guy Legia. He supposedly he was part of the Red Berets, the military police, and the government police, and he had like 2,800 special forces guys that were under his command, and they whacked out Prime Minister Djindjic. So they orchestrated that hit, and the guy Legia, who's that commander, he was part of the Zemun gang. So he had this like colorful tattoo, which at that time and to this day, nobody really puts a lot of color of ink in Serbia. They're more into that black and gray wash, you know? So he had like a colorful tattoo because in his early childhood, he went, well, not childhood, like in the teens, he went to the Foreign Legion. So what happened was he got into a lot of trouble, tried to opt out by going to the Foreign Legion, comes back with all these new skills. And what does he do? Starts taking over the streets and goes straight into the war in Bosnia. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So this guy, they were looking for him. He was in hiding because of that hit. So I'm walking in the streets of Belgrade. I have a whole sleeve, all colored.
Right.
Now I stick out like a sore thumb. Second, I have a swagger, which is that typical European swagger. Well, I'm, swaying my hips and moving my shoulders. I look like I can take care of business. Cops are pulling me over, literally like on foot. They're running with machine guns. Stop, stop, stop. I'm like hands up in the air. They're like, papers. And I'm like, I pull out my papers and I'm playing like I don't speak the language. And they're like, they're just calling in my name. They're calling in this. And they're going, no, he's not part of Legia's crew. So this not only happened to me for the next 10 days, I even like walked away like 2 blocks and they stopped me again. I'm like, yo, you guys just stopped me. They didn't care. They were out in full force looking for this guy. And then I went to Romania, and halfway into Romania, secret police just surround my uncle's car, machine guns, get out. At the border crossing, the guy called in and said, I think Legia's guy is here, or Legia himself. So they got me out of the car, they're frisking me, this and that. They're like, where's Legia? Bah, bah, bah. And I speak Romanian also because my mom is Romanian. And make a long story short, my uncle just turns to me and he just goes, really? He goes, you couldn't have just wore like a long sleeve shirt. You got to wear like a tank top, He goes, and plus you got this big ass cross around your neck and the, 200-gram chain. And I'm like, all right, whatever, But that's just the swag that that was just my swag. That's the way I dressed. And I wasn't about to, downplay it for anything, So, but yeah, that's a funny story, So yeah, my family's got, some ties back home. I don't know too many of the relatives that I do have that it's involved in that. I know about 3 or 4. But yeah, I did some business back home too when I was in the streets here. And I went back home, to take a little dip, get away from things here. And I got involved in things over there. It was just easy peasy for me,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, you were kind of guilty by association anyway over there.
But yeah, you know what it is? It's like, I'll give you an example. See, like, I'm trying to raise my son far from what, my footsteps were, And my son had this walk about him, which was a typical, kid walk, they're kind of goofy, And like when you see me walk and when you see him walk, I look like I could take care of myself. I look like I know martial arts. I know it just looks like the kind of guy you don't want to see in a dark alley or down a block somewhere, seedy kind of guy. My son, once I put him in MMA, he started getting that same swagger walk. And I didn't realize till he graduates high school, and I see him walking to the car and he's doing this, like he's walking like chest out. And I'm all like, yo, where did you get that walk? Because it's his last 2 years in high school. Yeah, I mean, I know he emulates me, but for him to go from this to like, it's just incredible. Plus, he's working out me 5 years in the gym, so he's putting on size. you know, he's getting a little cocky, you know what I mean? But he's still far from what I was, you know, like he's not one to look at somebody and be like, what the hell are you looking at? You know, to start stuff. That's just because it's embedded in me. And, you know, it's, how do you like completely disassociate and change everything about you? You don't, you know, you're still the same person. You just choose not to do certain things. Like now somebody looks at me, I'll give them the look. But I mean, you know, if it goes a couple of words, I'll be like, I warned them. I'm like, you know, I'm a black belt in this and I'm a this and this. You still want to go forward, I'm gonna break something, you know?
Right.
And there's been 2 instances here in Florida that I've had, but I try to like avoid it. Like I kind of like think it now and I'm going, you know what? Yeah, I'm a punk, right? You got it. Keep, you know, I'm gonna keep walking away from this. Because first off, I'm 55. I can't do jail time. Like I could do 6 months a year, but you start throwing 5, 10 years at me. Hells no. I don't. It's like, and I'm legit now, like straight legit. I got my records expunged. I'm 100%. I carry legally. And let me tell you something. In the 25 years that I carried illegally, I was more to pull out that gun and do something. And I've done some serious crap with that. But now that I carry, I've got a gun in the car, gun on my side, gun in my bag. You know, like I'm loaded to the gills. Number one, because I don't know who from the past is going to try to irk me back in, you know, because I got walking papers from the mob. So I got walking papers from the Italian mob in New York. They gave me the okay to leave. They actually kind of pushed me out like, hey, you know, this ain't for you. Because a lot of the guys were ratting, you know. So that, like, to give you like a little background, I was living in Jersey. I was kind of semi out of the life. I had a few spots. I had my little side gigs, and that was bringing in cash for me. It was nothing serious, nothing like to like my teen life and my early 20s. So a big guy, Bobby Bernasse, Bobby Glasses, got pinched, and he got hit with murder, double murder, racketeering. I mean, it was a life sentence. And I came back to Queens because I have an apartment building in Queens. So I came back to see my mom, and I went by the cafe to pay respect. And he told me straight. He goes, I hear you're still in the streets. And I'm like, no, I'm in Jersey. Like you told me to go, you know. He goes, no, but I heard you still got game in the streets. And I'm like, you know, it is what it is. I'll bring an envelope. He goes, it's not about the envelope. He goes, I kind of told you to get out the life because you got your kid. You know, before you had your kid, you were one way. Now that you have your kid, I see your eyes the way you are. The guy was straight. Like, I'm going to be honest, like, he was a gentleman, you know? And he was like, even though he was a gangster, he was a gentleman. And his protege, Vito, even said the same thing to me when I came back and I had to let the bank take my house. When I came back to Queens in the apartment building, you know, it was kind of like shocking for me to come back to the neighborhood. But now I have to start getting back into the street for real. And funny, quick story. I know I'm getting off, but
no, you're good.
Coming back in, you know, a young kid, I don't know, 18, 19, you know, running his mouth, this and that. And I was just like, I said, yo, not for nothing. I go, but you know who I am? He goes, yeah, fuck you. I don't care who you are. I said, yo, for real? I said, yo, tell your man that this is going to like blow the hell up, you know? And they're like, but you know who his uncle is? I'm like, I don't give a rat's ass who his uncle is. I go, I'm known. I go, I did my work. I go, you got to show me respect. And this kid was like, and what? He came up to me like that. And I just was like, bang, bow, you know, dropped him. And I didn't think nothing of it. My kid's sitting right in the damn car. My kid's just looking at me. And I was just like, apologize. And the guy was just like, nah, he wouldn't apologize. And I'm like, all right, so your uncle so-and-so? I said, I'll meet you in the cafe in half an hour. I get in the car. I go to the cafe. I drop off my son. I go to the cafe. And I walk in there. Yo, everybody's like grilling me as I'm walking in. A lot of unfamiliar faces, you know, a lot of young bucks, you know. So I get to the back door and I go, yo, I'm here to see, you know, Vincenzo. And they're like, and you are? I was like, yo, for real? And I look at the guy at the bar and I was like, yo, for real? He goes, that's Pedge, man. Let him in. Pedge tattoos. Door opens, you know, hug and kiss, sit down. This kid's sitting there, face is swollen like this, busted. And he goes, yo, so I heard you hit my nephew. I said, did your nephew tell you? And the kid that's with him, yeah, they told me that you were, you know, being provocative, that you were pushing, that, you know. I go, I was? I said, you want me to bring in a 9-year-old, 10-year-old kid in here to tell you what exactly happened? I go, because, you know, kids don't lie. And he was all like, look, I know my nephew, he's a little, you know, hot and this and that. And I said, let me tell you something. This is exactly what happened. Pop, 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 pop. I said, you want to do something about it? Do it. I said, I got 25 years in the street with you guys. I go, now all of a sudden you're going to take this little kid. All I said to him was, hey, I remember when I used to, see you in diapers. And he was like, yeah, those days are over. And I was like, yo, relax, kid. Don't call me kid. So that's how it started, the whole little altercation, So I had to prove my bones again, which really sucks at 46 years old. Have to prove your bones in the street. So that was one incident. And then I started hustling in the streets again. And then that guy Vito that I told you about, the protege, came up to me and he's like, sees me in the gym. And he's like, what's up? Gives me a kiss on the cheek, which when you give somebody a kiss on the cheek, they know you're in the mob or an associate of the mob. So everybody in the gym knows him. Everybody in the gym knows me. Now they know we're associates. And he tells me straight, he goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm not doing anything. He goes, come on. He goes, Pedge, what are you doing? I said, making a little money. He goes, are you doing this, this, and that? And I kind of looked at him and was like, yeah, how do you know? He goes, if I know? He goes, don't you think all the rats know? He goes, and Queens is nothing but a hotbed for rats. He goes, I just got out and did 19 months, Pedge. He goes, what the hell are you doing? And he heard that I had cancer. I got divorced. He heard all of that. And he goes, listen, he goes, Bobby's locked away. He got hit. He's doing 30 to life. You need to get the F out of here. And I was like, what am I going to do? This is all I know. Listen, this is the second time you're being told. Just get out of here, because if you're going to let this life consume you, he goes, we ain't going to be able to help you. You're going to have to go all the way now. When you're in all the way, you're in all the way. And I just turned, I came home, I turned to my kid and I was just like, where do you want to go? Because my kid was just like, he liked the house in Jersey, big, acre of land and all of that. Now he's going to the concrete jungle. It's a little apartment, 650 square feet. He went from a 3,000 square foot house to 650 square feet. Yeah, it was rough, but he was just like, whatever. He goes, Florida, because I used to have a condo here in Florida. He used to love it. We used to come 3 times a year. So I was like, I really hate Florida, but I was like,
me too.
I'm like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's hard getting used to. I like it for vacation purposes, but But I mean, after being here for 7.5 years, the first 3 to 4 were tremendously hard. It was just, I couldn't adapt. I couldn't get I was always like, hey, I'm going back home. So I would take little trips back to New York, But when I got to New York and I seen how it was totally different. 1 year not being in New York, it's just insane.
Yeah.
In New York, you see 60, 70,000 people walking on the street, 100, you go into Manhattan, it's 1 million something just within 10 square blocks, Right. And I started getting anxiety. I'm like,
Yeah.
But you come back to Florida, there's nobody on the street. Everybody's in cars. There's no public transportation. There is, but it's sparse,
Right.
So, I mean, I got used to it. And then once I got myself in that niche that, you can't trust anybody, you befriend people. The minute you start seeing, this guy's cagey, or he's, because everybody out here, you know how they are. It's like, they're not street savvy unless they're from the street. And the street right now is where, from where I'm at, it's like St. Petersburg, and that's in the ghetto. You know what I mean? That's the only street savvy people. Unless you're on the East Coast of Florida, all the ex-mobsters are now still working or whatever they're doing, or the ex-informants, You know what I mean? That's why I didn't move. That's why I didn't move to Boca or Fort Lauderdale, or, you know what I mean? I didn't move there because a lot of guys I knew from the neighborhood were there. So it would have been you're trying to get away from that life. You're not going to get away from it. You're going to actually just bump into guys, make more connections. And then what? Florida is different than New York. I know the criminal codes and what to get away with, what not to get away with. I got good lawyers up north. I ain't got nobody down here. I don't got that kind of cash flow,
right.
So I sold my property up there that I had, and I had to split it with the ex. It is what it is, and started with zero all over again.
So going with your timeline, you first got involved with the Italian mob in New York somewhere in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, I grew up with, so their dads were all, either associates or made guys, you know, captains and whatever. And you started to find out because 13 to 16, you find everything out, you know, so you know who's who. And my mom had a boyfriend, and that's the guy that kind of like influenced me. He was a bad influence on me. He wasn't a father figure. The guy was in the street, you know, he had a business, but always wanted to be a gangster at heart, you know, and he carried guns, brought the guns home, put them on the table. Like, I'd stand at 357 Magnums like it was normal, you know?
Right.
And that's kind of like a really bad thing to have. And then, like, you know, I started smoking weed, and I started doing this, and I started selling weed. You know, I was boosting bikes at 13. I boosted a car at 14. And then I started, like, you know, clicking with the Italian friends I grew up. And I'd come around their house, and then their parents would hear about what I did. And then the father would be like, hey, you want to do me a favor? You know, go here and here, take something for me. You know, and I'd go and take something. And then it would be like, hey, we got something for you. What? This guy, he got a little loud with my wife. We need to go bust out his windows. I'd do one better. I'd torch his car. You know what I mean? Like, so I started getting a reputation, you know, and I started becoming like a go-to guy because that was my niche, you know, like to be a go-to guy. Like, I loved it when somebody said, hey, I need this and this. My wheels started turning in my head. Well, I know this guy and I know this guy. Because from 11 to 13, what I was doing was I was getting on a bike and going to different neighborhoods. I did not stay in that neighborhood. So I would go to, let's say, 10 miles away, one neighborhood. And I'd like friend that little clique of people there. And that's how I became known. When I started boosting cars, I would boost the car and then go in these other bigger, further away neighborhoods. So my name started to travel. My reputation started to travel. I started doing dirt in other boroughs and other areas. And I even went to Jersey, Northern Jersey. I went to Central Jersey, Connecticut, PA. So I was constantly moving, you know? And yeah, I connected with a bunch of guys. I didn't have one specific guy that was a mentor to me until like later on, you know? I had like a bunch of mentors, you know? And, you know, I don't want to name names because a lot of people are still active.
Sure.
So I don't, you know, but a lot of people that aren't active, you know, like Cheech Navarro. Cheech Navarro was a Banano captain. You know, he was a boss. He had several lucrative businesses, but he was the guy you knew in the neighborhood. Like, you know, you go to him, and I used to go to him, and he'd be like, hey, do me a favor. You know, I need somebody to go collect this, you know, go collect that from the machines and whatever. He'd give us kids a little shot. And we were like gung-ho. So, you know, we found out the guy was being robbed or whatever. We put a hurting on the store owner. You know, that's just what it is. You know, when you're young, dumb, and full of cum. Yeah. That's it. You know, and it's you take more risks. As you get older, you start taking calculated risks, you know? And at this point in my life, somebody was to come to me with a huge score, I'd be like, no. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just when you're out and you're not living and breathing that every day, you're out. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's tempting. I love the high of doing stuff and you know, being able to say, I could put two people together, make a little something for myself, a little tax, or, you know, a little blessing, as I used to call it. But, you know, that all stems from my great-great-great-great-grandfather and my great-grandfather being that Trgovac, meaning I buy something here and I take it to another village and try to, you know, sell my wares. So that actually came from that in the blood. Like, I'm good at that kind of stuff, you know? So, like, you know, like black market stuff, like in Europe, selling jeans at one time were like really hot, like Levi's 501 blue jeans were like the hot thing back in the 80s. Marlboro cigarettes, you know? So like whenever I went back home, you know, I'd have a connect in every town, like real Marlboros, not the fake ones. You know, I'd bring 20 pairs of Levi's with me, sell them for like $200 in the town square. I just go and put it on my friend's table and say, yo, I'll give you 100 beans, let it go. And back then, money was $100 was like, wow, you know, like that's like 2 weeks pay, you know? Now it's nothing. $100 is like, you know, go out one night, you know, like for them, you know. It's,
but, you know, and I mean,
yeah, so
everything changed with the Mafia too. Like when you know, it was like the probably 40s to 60s was really the heyday of the Mafia and the Mafia Code, and it really meant something. You didn't rat, you respected the, you know, the mate and all that. So you joined in the 80s, 90s, and it was still.
I was an associate, yeah.
But you became associated in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
And the code was still significant, but it wasn't what it was then. And then when you're talking about later, when you were 46 and diving, going back into a little bit like that code was dead then.
Well, the code's still alive, but it's few, And I'm going to give you an example. What started irking me was that kid. When I came back to the neighborhood, that kid, that was just the one of many dominoes to hit to go down. Because even before that, like the younger kids wanted to take, like I had a weed spot. They wanted to take my weed spot. So they would rob my dealers, and I just was like, yo, what the, like I had to come back, hey, show that I'm still there, like I mean something. But they didn't care. They just guns drawn. I'm like, yo, for real over weed? Like, you're going to pull guns drawn? I was like, for real? For a little spot that makes like $2,500 a fucking week? Like, for real? And, it is what it is. They, I did it the legit way. I had to sit down, because they were Italian, If they would have been anybody else, man, they would have been beat up and down the street. But you don't know who's who and who's running under whose umbrella, whose wing. So that just started from there. And I started seeing the game was different. Like, somebody owed somebody money. Well, I had to go and collect. I was an enforcer. I didn't really care. Like, I had size on me. I was like 250, 19.5-inch arms. I knew MMA. I was a black belt in Ishin-Ryu karate. So I didn't care. I went and I took care of business. What do? They called the cops. Yo, this guy's trying to, muscle me for money. He's trying to extort me. So that's the whole thing. Like, people borrow the money from the mob, and then they go and they tattle on with the cops. So they're playing both sides of the fence, And then they're acting like a tough guy 5 minutes later in a cafe going, yeah, I taught that guy a lesson. There's no more. Right. There's no more what's right and what's wrong. The real deal guys, are far and few, but they're out there for real. Right. They're really out there. They'll do 20 years. They'll do like Asa Yellow. He's doing 20. That guy. I'm telling you, straight up gangster, straight from the street, He could talk. He ain't talking. That's, it's hard to have those kind of people. But when you come out, you're going to have the blessing of the family. You're going to have, even, like, he could be made. I can never be made. I could always just be an associate. I could run a crew or whatever. But it's not the point. At one time, I was respected like that, where I had my own crew. If you needed stolen cars, you came to me. If you needed this, you came to me, But then I started just working solo, meaning I would source out work, like I said, the go-to guy. So like you needed a 560 Mercedes SEL. I knew where it was. I'd pay this guy to go get it. This guy would go get it, leave it in this garage. And I'd be like, well, what do you need? You need parts or you need, then I'd get a guy to dismantle it, deliver the parts. So it is what it is. I was the go-to guy, But, that's about the only thing I missed about that life was that excitement. Everything else was a contrary. There was a lot of nepotism in that life. A lot of do as I say, don't do as I do. So it's like you can't look at another guy, a maid guy or an associate's girlfriend or wife or anything, but they can. So that, and when you call it out, like if I was to say, hey, I put my finger, you can't put your finger in my face. Wait, no, the rule was I can't put my hand on you. No. He makes the beef. I want this guy whacked. That's it. It's just he goes and he talks to his captain. He wants you whacked. So it's like over something stupid, over a woman. But yet, how many guys you look in the paper and you read, this guy was effing this guy's wife, this guy was effing this guy's girlfriend. It's just really ridiculous. It's like, so in other words, it's like, well, I'm more powerful and I could take more risks, so I'm going to screw your wife. And when you come out, we'll deal with it. What are you going to do? So now there's going to be a war over what? Right. Punani. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just, it's really retarded. So when that started to like circulate and plus everybody's dropping in the early 2000s, by 2010, 2012, it's a shit show. I'm sure. It's a shit show. I'm getting phone calls. This guy got out, did 15, 20 years. And it's like, the streets have changed. It's different. It is. It's not, if you're not in those streets every day, when I moved to Jersey in 2009, I had my spots, but you build an empire, So I had my spots, I had, my respect. But for me to go in unknown territory, or like, let's say, like I had connections South Jamaica, Queens. For me to go in South Jamaica, Queens, well, now they got Bloods and Crips. I could say, I know King this one, I know this guy, don't want to drop names, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I know these people. I still got to get an okay from them. And these young bucks, they're up and coming. They're running the streets. So how much do you want it? But I don't want it that bad. I mean, you know, I'm going to lose my life over it. I mean, when I was younger, yeah, I was ready for shootouts. I was ready to do what I had to do. Now, I don't. It's like I got more remorse about things that I've done. But then again, you know, I'm a product of my environment. I'm a product of what I was exposed to.
Sure.
Yeah, I lived in a great neighborhood, but like I said, that guy that my mom was dating, he was horrible. He taught me how to disrespect women. He was disrespecting my mom. Like, women are bitches. You got to treat them like this. And, you know, and he slapped my mom in front of me. And I'd be like, yo, I jumped one time. He back slapped me, spun me around. I tried to do my karate when I was, 10 years old. And that didn't work. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It didn't work. The guy was like 6'3", but I had a run-in with this guy. Saw him in the bank one day. He must have heard through the neighborhood that, you know, I'm in the street, whatever. So he used to call me Penguin, because I used to walk like a penguin, you know, waddle. So he goes, you know, he's staring at me, and he goes, hey, Penguin. So like, I looked over, really dirty. He's sitting down. I ignored him. And he said it again, Penguin. And I said, I know you're not talking to me because I'll kick your fucking ass, you know? He didn't say nothing. And then I saw him about a year later. I saw him in a bar, in a social club. And he's sitting at one end, I'm sitting here. There's a jukebox behind me. And he goes to the jukebox and he kind of bumps me. And I'm ignoring him. I'm just going for my gun. You know, like, I'm going for my gun. I'm going to kill this guy. Because the shit that he did to me growing up is just, I didn't dig it, you know? He puts in some, you know, couple songs, and it's Romanian music. Now I know he hates Serbs. He hated the fact that I was half Serbian. He hated it. And so I turned around, I put $5 in the jukebox. $5 is 40 songs. So I put $5, every Serbian song in the jukebox. When the Serbian music kicks in, he like looks at the waitress behind the counter and goes, who put this shit on? And she goes, Pedge. And he goes, He looks at me. I kind of made eye contact. I see him go like this. So I had 3 dudes with me. So he sends us drinks. So I go to her, who's this from? She goes, John. I said, John who? She goes, Big John John. I said, I don't know any Big John John. I said, take him back, send him back. I don't want this. And I hear him like cursing, and he's like, oh yeah. He gets on his phone, he's speaking Spanish, he's calling people. And I'm all like, yo, for real? Like, he's gonna call for backup. Like, he's a black belt in Hapkido, and he could take care of himself. He's carrying a piece. But what is it? Because I realized growing up, he had to show off to a young kid that he's big and bad, that he's somebody. You understand? I've never seen him fight. I've seen him in the street like, you know, like present himself, and people kind of back down because of his height, his stature, you know, his walk. But, you know, I never seen him throw down. I've never seen him do anything. So that was it. He stood out there, and somebody that was with him came and told me, yo, just take the drink and leave it be. You disrespected him. I said, he disrespected me growing up. Then he disrespected my mom. I said, fuck him. I was like, he wants to come back in here? I got 19 for him. I said, and I'll do the time for that. I said, but I know what I did it for. And that was it. He went around the whole neighborhood spreading rumors, beat me up, pistol whipped me, you know, and I'm all like, yo, for real? So now I'm going to places, all these Romanian, Serbian social clubs, showing my face, going, you see a mark on my face? He said he got my wallet. You see my wallet? Like, look, like, you know what I mean? Like, my license wasn't issued yesterday. I go, he's full of shit. And that's what everybody would do. Like, they would talk shit like, oh yeah, I fucked him up, you know? Right. And then like, it's just BS, man. You know, it's just like with the internet now. You got the trolls, same thing, but in real life. Trolls, they're going to troll, they're going to say, but when you're eye to eye with me, you know, we're looking at each other.
They're not going to say,
hey, what's up, Pedge? Yeah. Long time no see, man. You look good. That's not what I heard. I heard this, and this. No, why would I do that? Slap. You have to do that. That's that's the street code. Because if you're sitting there and you're talking, it's not going to happen like that. You don't talk. It's just, you do what you got to do. You know, if you're a tough guy and you're from the streets, you do what you got to do, you know? So, I mean, I don't do that no more. Like, I've had an incident in the gym where some guy was, you know, spreading rumors. You know, I did the Matt Cox show, and they were saying something about steroids on there. Like, I'm going to be honest, I'm not on juice. I mean, if I was on juice, I wouldn't have this little arm. You know, I mean, maybe it looks big to you. It's 17, but I work out hard. I work out 2 hours a day with my son. So my son's jacked up. He's not on juice. But everybody in the gym, pop, 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 you know, they see me for the first time. Oh, this guy's got to be on sauce, you know? No, I'm not. I'm like, I legitimately work out. I mean, I was at one time, yeah, and I was huge, 19-inch arms and 250 pounds. Now I'm 220. And I just maintained that for the rest of my life, you know?
Sure.
But this guy was popping, and he was saying stuff, and it went around into a little clique. And it got really bad because I started to hear it from more than one person. So now what do? The old Pedge would straight up go up to the guy. Hey, listen, I hear you popping off and saying this, that. What proof do you have? What is it your business anyway?
Right.
And now you're throwing my son into the mix. And I would have just railed him, took him outside and just dragged him through the concrete. But I didn't do that. What I did was I just started to ignore these people. And they're like, hey, and I'm like, you know, I just go about my business and I'm working out. And now there's 3 other people that they're also talking about. And these 3 other people are getting agitated and they're coming to me. And then we're having like a powwow in the middle of the gym for 3 hours because we're so heated. And we're kind of like, you know, the overtones. And I'm just like, you know what it is? It is what it is. Leave it be. Let them talk because they got nothing better to do than be a bunch of like old cackling hens. Let them do what they got to do. Ignore them. And believe it or not, you know, that ostracizing them like that, right. They're still in their little clique. But when they're around us, we watch what we say because even if one word comes out, it's going to be misconstrued. It's going to be like, oh, Pedge is dealing steroids, or hey, he's got this guy on juice, you know. And that's how that rumor thing started, you know. So I look at things different. I calculate them, and I think differently. I wouldn't have done that 20 years ago. I wouldn't have done that 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, not giving them that reaction gets them bored. They don't want to keep going if they're not reacting.
And then they get a little more angry because they're like, well, why won't he talk to me? You know, it's like they start digging for more stuff, but it is what it is.
For sure. Now, you mentioned that you had a battle with cancer?
Yeah. When I was 30-something, they found a stage 2 growth next to my appendix. So they pulled it out and they said it was benign. So I was like, okay, but you have to keep coming back and having colonoscopies. Okay. So I would go back every 2 years, then I'd go back every 3, then I got lazy. And sure enough, came back. Again, stage 2. They said benign. A year after, you know, like, I don't know, some people say they know they're sick, they have this feeling about them. I don't know if I'm intuitive, but I definitely felt like something wasn't right. So I went in and I had the colonoscopy, stage 3. So it was a proplastic tumor in the same area. So where he kept nubbing that thing, it kept growing back and growing back. So they removed it. They did biopsies all around. He removed so much of my intestine because he said, I'd rather do this and try and see if it works. He goes, other than cutting you open, taking out 6 to 8 inches. So I did that, set me for chemo, for like 6 sessions of chemo. Well, thank God I didn't lose my hair, but I dropped so much weight so quick, lethargic. I was just a mess. They put me on actually testosterone therapy because I was just done, you know? And I did only 5 of those sessions. They were like, that's enough. We don't want to kill the intestine. Went back in, had another test, had blood work, had another colonoscopy, clean. Had another colonoscopy, like every 3 months, clean. Blood test, all the, cancer markers came back clean. And at the same time, my wife was having an affair for 7 years. So I find out, and basically she was doing it right on my watch in my old neighborhood. So guys knew, but they weren't saying nothing to me. Why? Because I'm a violent person. They thought for sure I was gonna body this woman, you know, and they didn't want that on their conscience. They didn't care. They were just like, nah, man, I can't deal with it. He's got a kid. I don't want to be the one that triggers him. Plus, you know how it is in the street. If you do tell somebody, hey, I saw your wife, guys usually do. Guys usually turn around and blame the person.
Yep.
They blame they killed the messenger.
Yes.
You know? So, but I'm not that kind of person. Yeah, it would hurt me. Yeah, it would hurt and it would kill me and whatever. But I would never turn around and like blame the messenger. Because when I was the messenger and I told him from my heart, yo, you ain't gonna like it, but
Right.
I'd rather me tell you than you see with your own eye, because that hurts more when you see it. But people ain't like that. People are like straight up, they want to kill the messenger. So, when I found out, I shut up for 3 months, didn't say a word. I just kept building up more evidence. I was hacking in her phone. I had keyloggers on her laptop. I had trackers in her car. I built up a nice case. She comes home. I said, sit down. And I put up on the big screen, 55-inch. I said, read that text for me. She's like, I can't wait to suck here. I go, who the fuck is this guy? And she's like, like she didn't know. It's not me. It's, every excuse in the book. She finally, 3 hours of interrogation, and she comes through and she's like, yeah, it happened. I said, I want you out of the house. I want you out of my life, this and that. She's begging me for my son, this and this. I had a big decision to make. What do I do? And the next day I'm looking at my kid and I'm like, for him, because I grew up in a, fucked up childhood environment, my parents, and all of that. So I was just like, for him, I'll do it. I gave her a bunch of stipulations and I was like, you got to go to our priest. You have to confess. You have to want to change. You have to want to prove yourself, this and that, which she failed to do any of those things. She just wanted to like turn a new page and be like, I'm innocent now, So I don't even like talking about that.
Sure.
But, it is what it is. It was just too much. It was a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Not knowing when this cancer is going to come back. Am I going to be in remission forever? Am I not? Or, am I going to die? What's going to happen? And I just couldn't take it anymore. It was just like, two ships in the night passing each other, but arguing like F you, F you, F you, F you. Yeah. And she's always like, because she's guilty, so she's yelling at me, making a scene in front of the kid. She got to one point where she spat on me. It got really, really ugly. That the kid was taking sides now. Why are you yelling at my dad? You're a bitch.
Oh, man.
That's not something I wanted, So I was just like, you need to leave. And that was it. And we ended it there. And I let her see the kid, and whatever. And he just didn't want to see her. And I kept saying, you see that he doesn't want to talk? Yeah, because of you. You're putting fear in him. I'm like, I'm putting fear? I'll walk away. And then she's like talking to him. And he's just like, no, he doesn't, And she hasn't spoken to him in like 4 years. And he doesn't want to answer her calls. So he's just like, shows me texts. And I'm like, look, I changed my number. She don't have it. I don't got to deal with that bitch anymore. I go, you do. That's your mother. And he don't want to deal with it. He's just, I mean, he treats my girlfriend more like his mom than his real mom, because she's...
That's the way my daughter is. That is similar situation, and my daughter wants...
he doesn't call her mom, but he's very respectful towards her, and she tells him sometimes, hey, that was inappropriate. He's like, I'm sorry, my bad, So he shows respect, But it was a really tough thing, and then I just was like, screw her. She's going to want this house eventually. So I let the bank take it. I was like, F you. I went back to Queens, and it just really sucked because I gave my kid a choice. I said, do you want to still stay in Jersey? We're going to lose the house, but I'll get an apartment and we'll stay here so that you could be with your friends and whatever. Or I could save that money, move into an apartment in my own building, and, So my son was like, Dad, I think we should go back to Queens. It's going to be easier. Because I told him, I said, if we go to Queens, you're going to live the life you live in. Meaning, we go out to dinner on a regular, you get your video games. There's nothing's going to, you're not going to feel a dent. I said, but if we stay here, Dad can't afford it. Dad's got to hustle. And it's going to be hard, Dad hustling, running back and forth to, to New York and whatever. And the rents were ridiculous in Jersey at that time. So I was just like, it's better I got my own building. We go there. My son agreed. And I always give him my son choices. Like, I never got choices when I was little. It was like, we're moving. That was the choice. It was never, like, hey, do you want to live here? Or what do you think? Let's look at this apartment together. No, it was like, this is our new home. Take it or leave it. That's my choices. I was given that take it or leave it choice from an early age. It was like, we're living here. Take it or leave it. So what does leave it mean? I'm out.
Yeah.
I got to go live with my fucking alcoholic, abusive father. Yeah. So, that's always been my, my thing. Always been like thrown like that to the wolves with everything in my life. And I have to fend for myself and make the best out of it, I always end up at the end being okay, but the journey is hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's a lesson. It's a lesson. The next time this comes up and I see red flags, like my girlfriend wants to get married. I'm all like, no. You know, she's like, what? Why? No. I did it once. That was enough, man. I did 20 years. I could have killed somebody and been out of jail quicker. So, you know, but yeah, it's just, but it is what it is. I mean, you know, my son always asked me, how did you know to roll the die, you know, and take a chance? I said, you don't. You just roll that die. And like, I felt like I wanted to get married. I felt like that was something I wanted to do. But you always have a choice, you know? Absolutely. Just like there's been jobs that I was like, they told me, hey, we're gonna go and do this, pop, pop, pop. And I got there and I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. And they're like, what do you mean? I used to be that guy with that intuition. If my stomach said no, I wouldn't do it, you know? Sure. And sure enough, that night they would get pinched, shot at, jumped, whatever the story, you know, it just wouldn't go according to plan. So after a while, people in the street would just like, when we were doing stuff, they would be like, what's Pedge say? You know, and they'd come and ask me like, hey, we're going to go robbing cars tonight or whatever, you know, we need another person, you know, man, we're going here and here and here. Yo, my stomach would instantly tell me yes, no. I'd even ask myself, should I go? No. Like I'd hear a voice, no. I'd be like, nah, I'm not going. Oh, F him, you know, they go out, sure enough, yo, police chase, all 5 of them get busted, or all 10 of them, whoever went out on that raid, you know? So after a while, people would come to me and be like, what do you think? What do you think? And I'd be like, yo, unless you're gonna involve me financially, I'm not even gonna give you the heads up.
Oracle, bro. Like,
yeah, for real. Like, I mean, look, I don't want to put myself in that situation because now they're gonna say I'm like freaking Mike Panisi or whatever his name is, because he's like my dead grandmother spoke to me to get out of the mob. Look, I'm not that person, but everybody has intuition. You know, some people have it stronger than others.
Sure.
Like I knew before I got my cancer and before the divorce and all that, I had this crazy like epiphany. I was just sitting there and I started to cry. And I'm just like, you know, and my ex was like, why are you crying? I said, my life's going to be over in 3 months. She goes, what? I said, everything that I know is going to be, I felt that feeling like everything being taken away from me. And she goes, you're out of your mind. 3 months and change to the day, everything just upside down. It was like I should have wrote this down, like to have like, you know, proof that this is what happened. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm blessed, you know, this thing that I have, this, you know, intuition, it's been very strong. It's gotten me out of a lot of shit, but it's gotten me into a lot of shit. It's like that good angel, bad angel on your shoulder type of thing. Do it, don't do it. Sometimes you just don't listen to the good angel when you know you should have, and you do it and you pay your price. I paid the price. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. I've been beaten. I got hit straight in the, you know, square in the face with a baseball bat, knocked out. I'm laying on the floor. The guy's coming to hit me again. My boy comes over, bang, shoots him in the shoulder. I get the bat. I start cracking him in the head. I mean, this was a regular Saturday night going out to a club. That's what you expected, you know? It's like when you're from that age, from like 16, I'm going to say to tops 30, that's the time, if you're going to be a criminal, that's the time where you make your bones, you establish yourself, you do your time, you know? But I mean, look, I've been lucky. I've never spent a great amount of time in jail. I've spent, say, tops a month, you know, and it's like time served, you know, probation, or the charge has been dismissed and brought down to something else. I mean, I got arrested in Jersey. It's public record, even though I expunged it. It's still out there somewhere if you really want to find it. You know, they don't really get rid of it. But yeah, my ex called the cops and said I beat her up. Now, truth of the matter, she was throwing punches at me and I was holding her back by pinching her arm like this. So when the cops come, they're like, we need to come inside. I'm like, F you, you're not coming to my house. Because I know they're going to start raiding the house. They're going to do this. They're going to do that, whatever. So I'm like, no. Yeah, it was a small town. 6 squad cars. I think there's 8 squad cars in the whole town. 6 of them came out because they're like, it's that crazy guy again from New York. Because I've had incidences with her where she just calls the cops on a fluke. Yeah. And, you know, oh, he's violent. He's this, he's that, you know. And, you know, the cops are like yelling at me through the door. And I open up the window and I'm like, yo, pull my hand. I dare you to touch me because I'll mess you guys up. I'll fuck you up. And they wait for me. They go up the block and they hide. So at 7:30, I got to take my son to school. They waited till 7:30. I got in the car. Boom, boom, 6 squad cars. Get the fuck out of the car. I'm like, for real? Relax. You don't got to do that. I got out. My kid is crying. Daddy, what's going on? One cop, this is what I flipped. So the one cop turns around, he's yelling at my son, going, "Your dad's a fucking monster. He's going to fucking jail."
Wow.
Yo, I'm literally letting the cops handcuff me. And the guy that's handcuffing me got one cuff on me. And yo, I just was like, boom. And I jumped over the hood, drop kicked this cop into a fence. And with the handcuff, I'm going to rail on him. The other 5 cops are grabbing me. I'm like, I'm going to fucking kill you. So now they got me for aggravated battery. They got me, for, obstructing a law officer, and I'm just in the backseat going, you don't know who the fuck you arrested. I go, I ain't some yokel local. I go, I'm connected. Look me the fuck up. Google me, And they're just like, what? I'm like, I ain't saying nothing no more. I get in there. This guy Googles me, sees that I was running with a certain crew, the Giannini crew. And some things were coming up on Google. And the guy goes, yo, I don't understand. He goes, you don't really got a record anywhere. We can't find you. He's like, yeah, because I expunged my shit back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I go, my shit is clean. So he's like, look, you hit your wife. I didn't hit her. I said, it's a defensive wound. I was holding her like this. I said, but you do what you got to do. I said, I'll go through the system, pay a lawyer, did the whole thing. She even came to court and said, look, I'm bipolar. I'm on meds. Here's a letter from my psychiatrist. He didn't hit me. I don't know what happened because she didn't want to say that she punched me first because then I could put battery on her. You know the game. So they dismissed the charges, but this district attorney was such a douche. He was like, I think he was a little on the feminine side. And he was just straight up like, I'm for women's rights. And he wanted to rail me. He wanted to nail me to the cross for this. So, no, he's not letting it go. He's not letting it go. And we're going back and forth in the night court, for 3-4 hours. I go back in. I'm like, yo, she just said she doesn't want to press charges. Unless the state's going to press charges and you got a witness. I got camera in front of my house. And I bluffed. I was like, I have a camera. I'll produce the video right now on my phone. So district attorney goes, if you plead guilty to criminal mischief, I'll drop all the charges. The cop that I flipped, that I jumped over the hood and drop kicked, did not show up 3 times. Wow. This was my 3rd court case. Did not show up because he couldn't in his right mind. He was scared of me, number 1, right. And number 2, I ran into him later on. I saw him somewhere, like in BJ's or something like that. And I said, "What you gonna do now?" And he was like, "No." I was like, "Yo, I'm just saying, let's drop this. I have to live here for X amount of time. I don't want any beef. I don't want no trouble." I go, "You obviously either have a crush on my wife or you're not taking it serious." And he's just like, "No, it's just, you gotta understand the women, they're easily, hurt and whatever." I was just like, "Yeah, you're a dick." I was like, whatever. I let it go. But I mean, that was the last thing. And I had to carry that when I came to Florida. I was like, I wanted to expunge that so bad, and it was so hard for me to expunge it. And I had to find a lawyer in Jersey, and I found a lawyer that had little connections and found the right judge. Cost me an arm and a leg, but I got that all expunged because on the original records it says domestic abuse, going against the law officer, hindering his investigation, battery on an officer, resisting arrest. I mean, you name it. It was just 12 charges. What did you plead to? Criminal mischief. Well, why all these charges? You understand? So for me to get a gun here in Florida, it wasn't happening. So I did it, got everything clean, got letters from my parish priest back in New York saying, "Oh, he's a good father. He's this, he's that." Which that's the only thing I could tell you. I'm a jack of all trades, master at none, except being a good dad. That's about it, honestly. If I let my son see 2 times that I've lost my shit, 2 times, and that's it. Other than that, it was always I would not do it in front of him. Yeah. Well, I mean, until we got to Florida, with these stupid drivers here, I've lost my shit. I've lost my shit a few times.
What you mean.
You know what I mean? So I've lost my shit a few times, and I've gotten out of the car because it's a New York thing to do. It's you get out of the car. I've gotten out of the car, but my son was always like, "Yo, Dad, I know what you could do. I've seen you hit the bag. I've seen you hit people. You need to, relax." I'm like, and I would tell the guy, "You got a guardian angel, and it's my son." And I get back in the car. Now, people, they could swerve into me. I'll be like, "Yo, you crazy?" I let it go because what if they got a gun? What if they pull out a gun? What if they shoot at you? What if you don't know? I mean,
Yeah.
It's not. And I got the kid in the car. I got my girlfriend in the car. You know, it is what it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I had to take care of business, I would. You know, I mean, I'm older now. I've got issues with my back. I've had 4 surgeries on my elbow. This elbow I had rebuilt.
Wow.
I know I can take care of business. It may be a little slower, may not be as intense, but if I get you in 3 shots and I get you on the floor and I apply a guillotine or a, you know, some kind of an arm bar or something, you know, or a Gamora, you're done. You know what I mean? So hope that my back just acts up where I'm like, you know, and I can't do anything, but it is what it is. I mean, if I have to, I have to, but
So
I try to avoid it, you know.
What do you do for a living now?
I'm retired.
You're retired.
Straight up retired. I'm on disability. Man.
Okay.
Straight up retired. You know, so go ahead.
I assumed your name Pedge Tattoo meant you were a tattoo artist, but were you just known for your tattoos? Is that where that?
Yeah. What happened was I got my first tattoo at 14. So growing up in that atmosphere, everybody's getting tattooed. You know, so in the Italian neighborhood, everybody had praying hands in memory of a rose with mom, a Christ head. You know, so I started doing that. Started getting inked up. Within like a year and a half, I had like 5 tattoos. So there was another guy named Pedge, which was miraculous. It was like Pedge was not a popular name. So there was another Pedge. So they used to call him Pedge Goat because he had a GTO. So they called him Pedge Goat, and they started calling me Pedge Tattoos. So it would be like, you know, Pedge, but in Serbian, it doesn't sound like Pedge Tattoos. It just says, the translation is Pedge Tattoos, but it's like Pedge with the tattoos, you know? So, but then as going through the street with the Italians, they didn't ever call me Pedge Tattoos. They were like, I started carrying 2 guns at one time. So they started calling me Pedge 2 Guns. Because when I pulled out, I'd be like, pop, 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 you know, 2 guns. So, you know, and then I had this thing when I used to get drunk, we'd be in a social club and I hear some crazy Serbian song. I'd pull out my guns and tack, 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 tack. Like, like that. That was my thing. I got pictures at my wedding. I was doing that, you know, like I shot the gun in the hall, you know? So I got that shit on video. I mean, people can say whatever they want, man. I went in there and I told them, yeah, I'm only going to use blanks. So for the first 4 clips, I used blanks. And at the end, I was like, fuck these guys. I'll put holes in the ceiling. You know? And I mean, like, I did some sick shit. I got proof of this stuff. I got all, like I said, pictures, video in front of my house off of Main Avenue, coming out with my, you know, my ex-wife. I come out with an AK and I'm like, you're like this. So I had a cop on the force and he told me, he goes, we're going to be parked down the block. What I want you to do is get the young kids to throw firecrackers. So you could hear the firecrackers in the background going pop, 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 pop. And I just came out and went, gave the machine gun to my best man. And he went the other way because we have to shoot in the sky for good luck, shoot into the heavens. So that's like a Balkan thing. All Balkan people do that. Albanians, Turkish, Romanians, you know, Montenegrin, Serbians, you know, everybody does that. It's like, you know, at funerals, you know, it's like, it's always you shoot, you know, it's like you're either happy or you're sad, you're sorrow, whatever. And we like to break shit, like glasses, like when we hear a good song, oh, it hits you in the heart, bang, you throw it on the floor. Yeah, Greeks throw flowers, you know, they throw flowers and stuff, but we just like break stuff, you know, like and Greeks break the plates. So I don't know if that's I don't know if it's a Greek custom that we kind of took, but you know, we're all in that same ballpark, you know. For sure. Yeah, but like, you know, when I started to, from like 17, I had one mentor because I was all with the Italians, you know, up until then, and I started hanging out in like a few Yugoslavian social clubs, you know, and I had this mentor. My mom worked for him, and his name was Jovo. And if it wasn't for him, I would not speak Serbian because I stopped speaking Serbian once my parents got divorced. I just refused. I hated my dad. And I only spoke Romanian with my mom. So when you don't speak a language for a long time, you kind of forget. And I didn't speak great. Like I spoke like a 5-year-old, you know? So my grammatics were really horrible. My grammar was terrible. And started hanging out with him. He started showing me the ropes. This guy took me to places, you know, at 17, sneaking me in 16, 17. Like I met Boško Radoncic, which was the head of the Westies. Oh. So yeah, he was a Serbian gangster, but he was head of the Westies. So right around 88, 89, he took over the Westies when Jimmy Coonan went in. Wow. So I met him like a regular dude. You know, he just goes, this is Uncle Boško. So he goes, Chica Boško. And he goes, this is Pedge. And I was like, hey, how you doing? You don't speak Serbian? So I tried to speak my broken Serbian. He's like, you need to practice. So I would just do anything to be around these people, like, you know, around this guy Yovo, and everywhere he would go, he'd tag me along. So I got into this life, you know. He never taught me nothing bad like criminal, but just the people that were around was criminal. You know what I mean? So I just gravitated to that. But this man, if it wasn't for him, like I said, I wouldn't have respect. He was the only person that if he told me, don't talk to your mother like that, I'd be like, okay. He was the father figure in a way, you know, like an older brother type. So after that, I met, what was it? Punch's dad, Stanimirovic, the Pink Panthers. I met his father, Vojislav, through Bosco. I came into that club, Dubrovnik, on my own. Snuck in. They say, oh, that's Yovo's guy. Let him in. I come in. I just buy them drinks, whatever money I had in my pocket, whatever I stole that day. Like, you know, if I stole a bike or whatever I did, a motorcycle, whatever I had, like a G in my pocket, I'd be like, buy them drinks, whatever they want, cognac, Henny, you know. And I got introduced to Punch's dad. And I didn't know he was the head of the Pink Panthers, you know what I mean? It was that, but word starts to circulate. And I've been, like, I've always said this on other shows, it's a blessing and a curse. I have this, I don't like to toot my horn, say I have charisma or whatever. People tell me, you know, and I'd rather people say it than me say it, but just so you and your audience gets an idea, I was always blessed with connecting with people. This was the beginning of many more like meetings to come. And it was like, I was just like one after the other, like dominoes falling. I'd be at the right place at the right time. I'd walk in somewhere and they would introduce me to a guy. Who was he? Joe Messino, you know, head of the Bonanno crime. Like, I'm not lying to you. Like, and then the guy that's introducing me is vouching for me. So he's going, he's a friend of ours, you know, or he's a friend of mine. Right. So now I'm an associate. Now I'm on record. So then he goes, ain't you the guy that got that bar on Fresh Pond Road? I'm like, yeah, I heard good things about you. You're a moneymaker. Bop, bop, bop. Grimaldi said this one said that. I'm like, yeah. Ain't you that kid that kind of stood up to John Gotti? I'm like, yeah, because I had an issue with that too. Yeah, I had, it was somebody in the crew that I was running with. They went behind my back and they made a deal with John Gotti Jr.
Well, wow.
And he was buying cars at the time because he was in some junkyards or whatever. He needed cars you know, I really don't know what it was, like what he needed the cars for, but he needed 5 cars, you know? So I was like, okay, he needs 5 cars. I'm like, $5,500 a car. This guy goes, well, yeah, I made a deal, but he wants to sit down on it. I go, sit down for what? He goes, he only wants to give you $35 a car. I said, you made the deal. You go to the sit down and you can go F yourself. I go, he ain't getting my cars. So this got really bad. Word was sent that I have to go to Ozone Park. So I was like, I'm gonna be one up. Fuck these people. They think I'm like some nobody. I'm like, I know what I'm gonna do. So I call up Bosco. Bosco goes, come see me. I go to you know, the Coonan Club. You know, I walk in there, kisses me 3 times like a typical Serb. You know, pop, pop, pop on the cheek. He goes, what's the problem? I was like, I got a problem with John Gotti Jr. He's like, that's fucking mook. I was like, yeah, I got a problem with him. So I explained the whole story. He goes, all right. He goes, what are you willing to take? I go, I'm willing to take $5,500, not a penny under. I go, and he's getting a deal because I usually charge like, you know, 7, 8. I was like, he's taking 5. So I didn't even broker the deal. He's like, all right, we're going to go to the meeting. I'm going to be your guy. They were surprised that he came for real. And they were like, because Gotti was good with Bosco, for real. He was good with him and with Sammy the Bull. So I'm in there. There's like 10 guys in the back room and his son's there. And I'm just like, whatever. There's an Albanian guy there too. So I know why the Albanian guy's there because I speak Serbian.
Right.
He obviously sees that this guy speaks Serbian. So we're like talking, like I didn't say nothing. I just stood behind him and he goes, here's the deal. You know, I don't know why this kid called you. You know, it's just really simple. We're going to give him 35 and that's it. And, you know, and he goes, no, here's the deal. Your son brokered it with this guy. That guy's outside in the car. You want me to bring him in? You do the deal with him. These cars aren't his. He ain't letting them go for anything under 5. So, you know, after talking or whatever, this Albanian kid said something. I said back to him, because I spoke a little bit of Albanian. I said back, I speak Albanian. And he's just like, his eyes like lit up. And it was it. Like, he whispered in Junior's ear, and then Junior whispered in his dad's ear. And he goes, well, he's not walking out of here without making the deal. And you know that, right? You know, Bosco. And he's just like, he goes, so what? He goes, the kid ain't taking anything under 5. That's it. He goes, 48. No, it was 46. He goes, 4,600. He goes, and that's it. I said, okay, now he goes, okay, so for the future, I said straight up to him in Serbian, I was like, there ain't no fucking future. I go, this is the last deal I'm ever doing. I said, if they want to blackball me or put a hit on me or whatever, it's on record now. I came here. I gave in. I fucking put my tail between my fucking legs, but I'm not scared of anybody. You know, John did not like me. Junior fucking hated me. Whenever we were like in certain bars and some of his crew was there, like, I was like target, like, you know, 2-3 drinks and it would be like bottles flying my direction or provocation or whatever. So I try to avoid anything close to Ozone Park or Howard Beach, but whatever's in my neighborhood, Middle Village, Glendale, Ridgewood, yo, that's bullshit, man. I run that shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, especially in the Serbian clique, I ran shit. They knew me as a Serbian gangster. So, you know, I'm not trying to make my bones as a, you know, Banana associate or a Gambino. I was, but I was mostly in the Serbian thing. This guy Jovo that was taking me around, that was my introduction to the Serbian mob. And then from there, it was just, I just kept meeting people. I was in this social club in Ridgewood. Bosco had won it in a card game. The guy didn't have the money to pay him back. They played some heavy stakes game. I think it was like 60, 70 grand a pot. So this guy gave up the social club. It was a nice big venue. He had live music coming in from Serbia. So one night I was in there and I walked in to see who's in the hall, you know, they're playing, and I see Bosco in the corner. He was always in that corner because he could see who's coming in. You know, he could do what he had to do. The exit door was right there. And he was like, sit down, have a drink with me. And I had a drink with him. And these two dudes walked in, and you know how you know that intuition kicks in? Well, that intuition kicked in. He told me, kid, go by the bar. You strapped? I said, always. He goes, go by the bar. I went by the bar, not even 5 minutes passed by. You just hear pop, 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 pop. And these two guys come running out, and shots are being fired. You can see, like, you know? And I run out after, you know? And, you know, I pop off one or two. You know, Bosco comes out, and there's, like, these little bushes, and they're shooting. Bosco throws me in the fucking bush. I, like, land down. This guy jumps across the car, like, one guy got in the backseat. The other guy jumped across the car, started the car, and put his foot on the pedal with his hand. Put his hand on the pedal and started to like blindly steer, hitting parked cars, taking off. Finally, I guess he gets up, you know, and Bosco's just you know, shooting, and you hear, you know, the cops and everything. So I go ditch my gun. I start like pretending I'm walking. Cops come out of everywhere. Bosco's long gone. Got in his car, took off. What happened? You know, this was way before cameras, you know?
Right.
So what happened? I don't know. We know you. I was already got arrested like half a dozen times. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, you know. And they're like looking at the shell casings and whatever. I don't give a fuck, you know? That was just one of many experiences, you know? And then this head of I forgot which, it was the Belgrade Mafia, Gishka. He came to the United States. It was a planned takeover. So he was going to come put his foot, because the Pink Panthers were already here putting their foot from the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, doing heists, robberies, jewel thieving, you know. So he came to lay the foundation for the Serb mob in New York and in Chicago, because a large population, the second largest population next to Belgrade is Chicago for Serbs. So there's like 250,000 Serbs in Chicago. So there's like 23 or 26 churches and monasteries and whatever. Yeah, so New York is not really a lot. I mean, if you go with upstate New York, 30, 50,000 at the most, but it's condensed in certain neighborhoods. And like, if I was to go to church, there was only one church in the city in Manhattan. So if I was to go to church, predominantly like 5,000 to 8,000 Serbs come out. I knew all 5,000 to 8,000. Like, it was just like, you know these people because you deal with them on a regular, you know. They would either see you in church, they would either see you at music, you know, like when there's live music or whatever the deal may be, you know. But yeah, that was my run-in with from there, like, it was just my run-in with like famous people, mobsters. Then when I went to Belgrade, I associated Kiki Golubovic. He's like one of the only gangsters still alive, and he's my age, 55. Wow. I don't know if he's still doing shit, but now he's like on he was on some reality TV show. So it's getting to that, you know, low end of the spectrum. Yeah, it's just, but they pay you a lot of money for those reality shows, like $250,000 or whatever. So he went on that show because he's a persona. He's got that charisma, you know. But yeah, so from there, it was like I said, I've met a lot of famous people, even like here in the United States, like movie stars. I've met Charles Bronson on a fluke. I met Mickey Rourke on a fluke. Like, and I tell you honestly, I trained. I don't know if you ever seen the guy. I know his last name is Little. He's the guy that does that thing, the gazelle. He used to be on infomercials, long blonde hair, built guy.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
I forgot what his Tony Little. So Tony Little works out of my gym, and like I like just walk by him. I go, "Hey, ain't you Tony Little?" And my son's looking at him, and I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you. My name is Pedge. This is my son Marco. Have a good workout." I just go, "I'll go about my business." My son goes, "That's the guy with the gazelle." And I said, "Yeah, so what?" I go, "Yeah, and?" He goes, "How you just talk to him like he's normal?" I go, "Because he is normal." I go, what makes him? I go, "Yeah, what makes him something like special?" Because he's on TV. It's like he's a normal guy like me, and you trying to, eke out a living, And this kind of like went on with everything. Like when like they brought like Serbian people to sing, I would just walk up to them and be like, "Hey, how you doing? Can we take a picture?" I take a picture with them. They would like find me, interesting. They'd keep me around. Like, we would start talking. Like I'd be at their private table, and everybody's like, "Well, how the hell does Pedge get to the private table?" That was just my thing.
It's that charisma.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, it was just I knew how to schmooze. That was my thing, schmoozing, And I used to like blow up their ego too. "Oh my God, you sing like a god. Can I buy you a drink? Doubles, triples." I didn't care. I had money. I'd pull out a knot. They'd be like, "What do you do for a living?"
Right.
And Serbians know when you pull out a knot, you got a big ass chain around your neck with 7 carats of diamonds. The first words out of their mouth are, "What are you doing?" Like, so it's the thing goes, "Skim se baviš." Skim se baviš is, so with what are you messing around with? Like when you say skim se baviš, it's either work or mafia, So do I look like, I got callus on my hands?
Right,
I'm like,
right. No, yeah, you know
what I do. You know what I do. I mean, I'm sitting at the first table at the music where I just paid $1,000 for the whole table, and there's only 3 people there. I don't want anybody sitting at my table. You know what I'm saying? So then I got bottles of Hennessy because people would like, out of respect, send me a bottle just for me to keep favor on them. So I would sit there with 10 bottles and tell the club, "You want to buy them back?" "Yeah, we'll buy them back for cost." "No, you're buying back for what these kids pay for, and you pay me. Like you ain't making a profit here.
Right.
But like I said, I've met Charles Bronson. I was just walking to my job. He was on 5th Avenue, and I just like I looked and I was like, "You're Charles Bronson." He goes, "Hey yo," and I was like, I didn't ask him for an autograph. I just was like, nice to meet you. Shook his hand. Gentleman, great guy. Mickey Rourke came out of the train station. He was getting out of the limo to go and do some photo shoot or something. I look over, there's a newsstand. Mickey Rourke's on the cover of GQ. I grab the thing, I throw $5 on the stand. I run over, I just stick my hand through the people. He grabs my hand, pulls me in. He goes, "I like that, kid. You saw," he saw me. He saw the whole schmeal that I did, And he goes, "What's your name?" And I said, "Pedge." Whenever I say my name, everybody gets stumped. They're like, "What?"
Pedge.
I go, "Pedge, Pedge, like I pledge without the L." A lot of people they'll write pledge, So he wrote pledge, and I still have that GQ magazine. Then I met Whoopi Goldberg. She came in my job. She was high, she reeked on weed, bro. I was just like in shock because she reeked. She had to come at the sign-in thing, and I was working the lobby at that time. And she came in, and I was just like, "Yo, she reeks on weed, man." Now the guy behind the counter, security, was like talking to her like, "Yo, I'm a big fan. I like all your flims, And I'm all like, "Yeah." I go, "Who is she?" So then I look and she goes, "You don't know who I am?" Then it hit me. I was just like, "Oh shit, Whoopi Goldberg." And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "What's your name?" I said, "My name is Pedge." It's like pledge, whatever. She goes, "Ain't no harder than Whoopi." And she goes to sign the sheet in and write all of that down and gives me the sign-in sheet. I was like, "I don't want that." She goes, "You don't want my autograph?" I was like, "I'm not an autograph hound. I'm not." I go, "It's a pleasure meeting you. It's like you're just like everybody else." I go, "It's just when you see somebody up on the big screen, larger than life. But when you meet them in real life, ain't no different. It's just, maybe that's probably why I get along with these people so well."
Right.
Well,
that's because they want to be treated like normal. That's,
I think so. I really think so. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody likes, have smoke blowing up their ass. Everybody, it's just, the ego, But I think at the right time, at the right place, that's essential, you know?
Sure.
Like I've had guys, I'll give you a story. Guy goes to me, got this guy that got jumped and this and that. Yeah, he took this guy's car, made him strip naked and whatever. He goes, man, I'd love to meet that guy. That was my intro. I stuck my hand out, shook the guy's hand. I said, you're meeting the guy. What? You're the guy? I was like, yeah. I go, it happened. I had a mask on. I took the mask off. The guy saw me, whatever the thing was. And the guy was like, oh my God, you're that guy. I looked up to you for all this time, man. And I'm like, there's nothing to look up to me for. What? Because I pulled a gangster move.
Right.
I try to teach a lesson to the guy because he was a wise ass. So I strip him naked, go jog your ass home now, and I'm taking your car. And this guy was just, oh my God, this and that. He went on to like brag to everybody at the bar. That's the guy. And it's like, yo, keep it on the DL. You don't got to tell everybody, It is what it is. I did that. Yeah, I did it to you in secret. I said, this kid was just buying me drinks all night, trying to get under my good side. And of course, I knew something was going to happen. Had a little too much to drink. Started popping off. You know who I'm with? That was my cue to exit stage left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I ended up staying and they came around. They're like, are you with this guy? I really didn't know the kid. I knew him in the neighborhood, but I didn't really know him. And I was just like, yeah, I know him. Well, he's running his mouth. He's this, that. You're going to vouch for him. So I told the kid, finish your drink, get the fuck in the car, and get the fuck out of here. It's like, because this is going to go somewhere you don't want it to go, and you're going to be owing me. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, this and that. As he's exiting, fuck you to those guys. So these guys kind of barrel me and go put a hurting on this kid. Now I'm like jumping in, going, nah, yoke one guy. I'm like, leave it be. Look, you already fucked him up. Kid's all pussy, like he's all bloodied up. It was a bad thing, but it's like I said, if it's the right timing, you know what I'm saying? Like somebody blows a little smoke up your ass, it's great. It's a great thing to get a pat on the back. I have this saying, everybody has their 10 minutes of fame. Everybody has it, okay? Whatever it be, in your circle, in a group, on the internet, whatever it may be, everybody has a 10 minutes. You don't override that 10 minutes. It's either your time and you step aside and let the next person get their, glory or whatever, but everybody has a 10 minutes. Me, I've had a little bit more than 10 minutes, but I've never overstepped it. Whenever it comes back to me, I'm very blessed, and I just don't abuse it. You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm out of the game, but if I go to New York, there's the people that want to talk shit and irk me and just get me to throw my hands so that they could just call the cops and say, Pedge, put hands on me, just to F up everything that I have in my life going on good. Then there's people that they don't want to hear that you're doing good. They just want to hear all the negative shit. So you can't say, hey, I'm doing great. I bought a new house. I got a girlfriend with this, with that. We're going to have a baby, because they're haters, And what they're going to do is they're going to just turn around and they want that. They feed on that, So I basically, I ride my wave, and that's it. I had my 10 minutes at one time. It lasted, say, 10 years or 15 years. If I have to step back, I know when, like now if I go back to the neighborhood and I see the young bucks and I go into a cafe, I pay respects to whoever's who, but whoever's running that crew now, I go straight to them and be like, yo, I heard you just got your button, give them the kiss, the hug, mad respect. I'm not here to, step on no toes. And you pay respect, you get respect, But if I had to be in that life, it's just too chaotic. Like we were talking earlier, it's just too filled with bullshit. It's just BS, man. It's just do as I say, don't do as I do. It's just, it is what it is. It's like when you see The Sopranos and you see all that back talking, like you walk into a club, you see the guy, hey, how you doing? This is what you're seeing. Hey, how you doing? Send them drinks. All right, and they cheers. Under their breath, scumbag motherfucker. I heard he fucking just did a heist, man. We should fucking muscle in on that shit. We should get our 10%. That's what is going on, for real. There's no respect.
Right.
When I earned, I didn't have to be told to bring an envelope. I did it on my own.
Right.
Even though I was doing stuff in the Serbian community, I was doing stuff in the Romanian community, I was in the Spanish community, the Russian community. I knew that whoever was the captain of the neighborhood I was operating in, I would go, here you go. They would never have to open up that envelope, They would never have to open up that envelope and have to go through it and count, But hold on, I think my volume's a little low. Yeah, so they would always get a fat envelope.
they would hear in the street, oh, Pedge is moving cars. They would do like a basic arithmetic. Well, I heard he's got like whatever, 10, 20 cars, figure he's getting this much, you know, and then, you know, they would look, they would never have to, I'm not Italian. I don't belong to anybody. You know, nobody's claimed me. I mean, you know, when somebody says he's with me, then they claim you, then it's done, you know? So at the end, when I was with Bobby Glasses, yeah, he claimed me, but he was getting envelopes for me. I was always on point, you know? I never was disrespectful, you know? And if I had to like use his name, I got carte blanche. I could do it. I could be like, you know who I'm running with? Like, you really want to go there?
Right.
Like really, you want to step on my toes? Like, I could be a really nice guy, but you really being a scumbag now, you know? But I never did. I had connections with the Serbs. I mean, like, I had connections in Chicago, Cali, you know, Vegas, all the major mobsters, you know. I've had a one time call in to speak to somebody in Chicago. And that's because when I was in my bar, this kid came in the night before. It was 4 in the morning. I had the doors closed because that last call is 3:30. So 4 in the morning, I would, you know, lock up, but I would still serve for an hour or two. You know, I had my locals. And this kid came banging on my door around 4:30 in the morning, you know, so I open up the blinds. I was like, what do you want? He's throwing names. I'm with this guy. I'm with that guy. I said, so if you're with this guy and that guy, where is he? And he's like, come on, open the door. He knows me. He's like, come on, Pedge, open the door, you know. So I said, I never seen the kid before. His first time in my bar. I opened the door. He had 3 guys with him. I said, all right, come in. Drinks on me. Lock the door. Goes by the bar. And he just got a little lit up. But he was kind of like talking smack to begin with at another bar. And this guy got him lit up and said, well, why don't you go by Pedge and start shit, you know? This kid wasn't even Serbian. This kid was Romanian, but he had a Serbian eagle around his neck. I thought he was Serbian, spoke perfect Serbian. He goes by the back of the bar, and his guys are sitting in my lounge area, but I got about 6, 7 tough little kids in there, you know, and they're drinking. And then all of a sudden he goes and he palms my ex-wife's ass. So I turn around, I was like, oh. And he's like, what? I said, she's not a regular waitress. That's my fucking wife. And what the fuck you gonna do about it? I said, all right, drinks are done.
Wow.
So I go, like, first my instinct is there's 3 guys and him. These guys aren't my people that are in the bar. They don't realize what's going on. They're all like 20s and stuff. They didn't understand what's going on. I just said in Serbian, it's gonna go down, you know? And I went behind the bar and I grabbed my piece. I guess he knew what I was gonna do because he just cracked that Corona bottle and he stabbed me right in my forearm. Wow. All I remember was going like this and getting stabbed in this motion because I was bending over, and blood is like this. And I'm just like, motherfucker, you know? So I just pull out my gun and I just go pop, 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 pop over everybody's head. Everybody goes down. But in that practice, when I did that, these other guys were jumping on these 3 guys that were in the lounge area, and they just like, pow, pow, bottles cracking. They were fucking these guys up. This guy, I just took the gun and I whipped him right in the face. He falls down. I'm like squirting blood everywhere. This guy's like, you know who I am? And I'm like, you motherfucker. Now I'm stomping him. You know, I'm stomping him.
Right.
2 more guys come over. They're stomping him. I'm grabbing him by the hair and I'm pulling him to pull him out of the bar. Like 100 feet, I'm dragging him. I get him out in front of the bar. There's a bus stop right in front. I'm going to curb him. I want to put his mouth on the field. That's how, you know, I was just, like, I didn't see nothing in front of me except red. Right. And so I'm gonna put his, you know, face on the curb, but I'm still hitting him with the gun. I'm busting up his whole skull, everything. I realized the next day I like knocked out 4 or 5 teeth out of him. The guy was just, he looked horrible. Wow. But he's laying there, his friends come, they're all bloody. They're like, we don't want no problems. We didn't know what he was gonna do, blah, blah, blah. I was like, pick up your man, get the fuck out of here. If I ever see you guys in Ridgewood ever again, I swear to God, you guys are dead, you know? And I'm just heated, you know? Right. Now, I'm making all, you know, the gunshots went off. I know the cops are coming. I run back in, turn off the lights. Everything's done. You know, they come banging on the door. We go out the back exit. There's like a little yard that you hop over, and I know the owner of that building, so I go through their basement to get out, you know. And this guy comes back, like, whatever, 2 days. I think it was 2 days later. He comes back all fucked up with some older dude. And the guy comes in like a cocky, you know, Serbian guy, like a Balkan. He's like, oh, you know. So I see he's got swag, but like I know I can, you know, take him. I don't give a shit. So he walks in, he goes, yeah, you know him? I said, yeah, I fucked him up the other night. I go, he's a mad, you fuck a little punk ass kid. I said, grabbing my wife's ass and this and that. He goes, oh, relax. I go, you fucking relax. You came in my house.
Right.
I was like, you know whose house this is? I go, this belongs to the Bananos. This is a controlled area. This house belongs to a Banano soldier. I was like, yo, I go, I can make you disappear. I was like, you got no authority to come in here. So he's like, you know who I know? He starts throwing names. Like, that's a typical Serbian thing to do if you're a nobody. You throw names. So I said, what name did you just throw? So he says this guy's name, Peter, whatever. I pull out my phone. I said, we're going to end this right now. And I told the person that was in there, lock the fucking door. And they locked the door. I said, you ain't leaving until we square this off now. I said, because you came in my house. And I called this guy, Peter, in Chicago. He picks up on the third ring on speaker. And I'm like, hey, Peter, I got a guy here. What's your fucking name? And he says his name. I said, you know this guy? He goes, that fucking idiot?
Oh.
I said, well, I go, so you know you're on speaker. He goes, fuck him. He goes, what did he do or his nephew do now? So I said, oh, well, now that we're going to talk about it, said he came in the other night, his nephew grabbed my wife's ass, cut me with a fucking bottle, jigged me. I said, you know, and I don't call you. I call you like once a year to say hi, just to, you know, touch base. I was like, this guy's throwing your name like it's Avion water, you know? And he goes, all right. He goes, he's there, right? I go, yeah. He goes, listen. He goes, this is done. He goes, you don't show your face ever in Ridgewood or New York without permission from him or me. He goes, because if I have to, he goes, I'm going to give this guy permission to fucking do you right there. He goes, it's done for you. He goes, never call me, never did. I mean, he went through the whole, you know, the whole fucking monologue. So I was like, thank you, sorry to call you like this. You know, he goes, no, Pedge. He goes, don't worry, you never call me for anything. I was like, hey, this is not infringing on my favors with you or nothing. I go, but this guy's throwing your name. It's not right. We hang up. This guy goes, well, I didn't. Now the story changed. I didn't know that my nephew was in the wrong, you know, yada, yada. So I was like, look, here's the deal. Where you guys from? He goes, Philly. Oh, I was like, I got guys in Philly. I said, let me tell you something. Had I known you guys were from Philly, I never would have let this escalate to this. I would have sent him home in a bag. I was like, in a bag, in pieces. I said, because I know people in Philly. I said, so you know what? Go to Philly and never show your face ever again. I go, I don't want to see it. If there's like music at the Serbian club, you're not allowed to come. I said, you need permission from me. Here's my number for future. You call me before it's a party, a wedding, a christening, anything. You can't set foot in the 5 boroughs.
Damn.
Never. And to cut from that story, one of the guys that were in his clique, I seen him at some, I forgot him. I mean, I had people coming and going to my bar. I don't remember everybody. I remember the regulars. I was at a social club, and there was a party in the back of the social club, and this guy was sitting next to me, and he can I buy you a drink? Okay. And he's introducing himself to me. You don't remember me? I'm like, nope. I draw a blank. I'm like, you don't even look familiar. I seen him one time, and I was like, in the darkness of my bar, he got beat up by my patrons, and he's going, you know what? He goes, I've never had a gun waved at me in my entire life. Now I'm starting to put it together. Now that black cloud is here. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So I'm thinking this guy wants retaliation or some shit. So I'm putting my keys in between my fingers, and I'm holding my fist right here, but I got my arm kind of like on the bar. And I also got my hand close to the Corona bottle. So if I have to, I'm gonna crack him with the Corona bottle, so taking him in the neck. That's the first thing I'm thinking, you know? So he's telling me how he got a gun waved in his face, that it taught him a valuable lesson, that to choose who he hangs out with, because that guy Christian, yeah, I said his name, I don't care. Christian was a punk ass from Philadelphia, you know? And I wasn't gonna say his name, but whatever, he's a punk ass, he still is. But yeah, so I found out after that, he said what he said to me. I was like honored and everything. I kind of finished my Corona. Yeah. Like, okay, good seeing you, and I left. But I was like, when I was leaving, I was like, you know, why'd you come here? He goes, oh, I came here like on a sneak, you know, that's why I came to talk to you. I said, oh, so you heard that, you know, he's not allowed to come to New York no more. He goes, yeah, and he goes, I didn't want to overstep. I didn't have your number. I didn't know who to reach out to. I go, look, you were there for a second. You were with him. I was like, my main concern was him and his freaking uncle. You know? Right. But yeah, listen, I mean, I'm not trying to glorify this. I laugh about this stuff. Sure. It was in my past. I was this person. I'm not this person today. I can be. I don't choose to. And the more you stay away from this, yeah, call me a punk, call me a bitch, whatever. Hey, listen, I had my 10 minutes. I'm more than happy. I'm in newspaper articles, you know. I'm in a lot of, you know, I did interviews in Serbia for like Serbian people and Serbian bloggers and whatever. I'm not looking for fame in this. This whole thing started with a friend of mine that was in the life who became a rat. You know, he had no choice, you know. I mean, they gave him a great deal. He was facing murder, you know, conspiracy to commit murder, so on and so forth. So he turned and he wanted to turn his life around. He called me up and he goes, hey, would you be willing to go on a show and just talk about the old days? He goes, you always tell a great story, Pedge. He goes, you're just a good storyteller. He goes, and you're charismatic and people are interested. They listen to you. He goes, me, I put two sentences together, you know. So I said, yeah, sure. I blew him up because I said, do I get carte blanche? Can I talk about anything you've done? He goes, Pedge, anything. I said, can I talk about your Uncle Cheech? He goes, well, yeah, because he's dead. You could say whatever, but not about his son. I said, okay. So I kept it into that sphere. Sure. And I went on the Reform Report and I did that. So it was a telephone interview. The people really liked me. They wanted me back. So I did another one. Then the guy was coming up with topics. How was your life with Bobby Vanasse? Explain. So I said, okay, Bobby Vanasse, Bobby Glasses. And, you know, I would kind of tell the same story, but just add a little bit. Because in the back of my head, I was like, if these stories are this good, I should write a book, you know? But you know how it is to write a book. You start, you never finish. It's like 30 pages and it never goes anywhere. You got to restart. So I got about 130, but it's always like a different start. I don't get that same momentum going. You know? Right. But so I did all these shows, and I did the Mad Cock show because I'm trying to put the Serbian mob on the map, because Serbian mobs right now like a hot commodity. You know, like in England, the Albanians run the coke game and the heroin game. But in the Balkans, the Serbs are a force to be reckoned with. Some guy just got arrested in Miami, an ex-boxer from Montenegro, 350 tons. Tons. We're not talking pounds, kilos, fucking tons. So, you know, like I said in my other interviews, you know, they kept talking about the Lufthansa heist. Wow, that was so big, 7 million. Let me tell you something. I'm maybe it's big in that genre, you know, in that mob genre. But the Pink Panthers did more in one haul. Wow. On 47th Street. Story, punched Stanimirovic. They called him Punch because he could punch into a safe in 10 minutes. Wow. Okay? So he punches into a safe, takes like $21 million worth of gems, whatever. Now that day, there was money bags inside that walk-in vault, but he didn't know that there was money bags that were supposed to be there. He didn't know what they were. He thought they were like ore rocks that you have to like, you know, get the stone out of or whatever, the precious, you know, gem. So he just like kicked the bags. Next day, all over the newspapers. Something like $17 million in cash left behind. So look, you know, for something like that, you know, I always say like the Lufthansa heist was like a gumball machine where you put a quarter in and you get a ball out. That's what it was. 7 million is nothing. Right. Yeah, it was for the mob, for the mafia, with like a big heist and all of that. But let me tell you something. You know, I want to put the Serbs on the map because there's other ethnic groups that are doing just as much, if not more, than the Italian mob. And the Italian mob, to this day, has Serbians in it, Albanians in it. They're associates, but it doesn't matter. They're the heartbeat of the mob. I mean, you don't have 25 good earners. You know what I mean? Like, what do you have? You have nothing. You have nobody to kick up to the skipper. You have nobody from the skipper to kick up to the boss. You know what I mean? The money's not flowing in. And I'm sorry to say, but Serbs will do time. They're not ones to like drop dime and rat. Albanians just as well. Alex Rudai is doing 25 to life. He's about to get out in about 4 or 5 years. And from what I hear, he's going to do a complete takeover of the streets in New York, you know? So, and he was at one time the fifth family or whatever they were saying, like the next, you know, like the Albanian mob. He came in and he took over all the Gambinos and Genovese spots without hesitation. It was like, it's just insane, you know? So, you know, I'm not going to sit there and like, you know, I dealt with Albanians and stuff. We have our, you know, disagreements because of what's going on in the country in Kosovo and stuff. But yeah, I tip my hat off to them. They're gangsters, you know what I mean? And I just want to put Serbs on the map. And that's why I did the Matt Cox thing. I wanted to tell him a few stories. And I wanted to put, the mix with Punch in there because he just wrote a book. His book is phenomenal. I read it twice back to back. The only thing that was missing was my name. Like, I called him up and I told him, I said, Punch, man, I know you for all those years. I said, everybody you're mentioning in this book, I've associated with, And he did a show. It's going to be coming out on the Reform Report. I'm going to try to get him on your show as well. And he said some things about me, which, officially will like put me, back me up like that. I'm
sure.
Serb associate, because right now it's just, it's a lot of pictures that I have, that's my only thing is my photographical evidence. And there's a few people that are out there, which I hope they see some of these shows and reach out to you, reach out to me, touch base again after all these years. I just need them to acknowledge that, yeah, this did happen. This, so when my book comes out, it's not like, oh yeah, I never heard of any of this. You can check, you can go back and look and you can see like, daily news, headlines, this and this happened. Well, now you know who was behind it.
Sure.
Like I made the newspaper about a great car theft ring. It was my ring. I just decided at the last minute to haul tail and get out of there because this was becoming blatant in the newspapers. We're slipping up. They're starting to get wise to what we're doing. We were making money. So, it's just, it's crazy. I mean, talking about these things, I just get excited when I do interviews and I get back into it, and I feel very, very okay to talk about it. There's some things I can't talk about because of the statute of limitations. There's just things I won't mention, and I don't think I don't need to be like some of the other people and just brag about my crimes and whatever. In my book, when I finally do get it published and whatever, it's going to have the same stories that everybody's heard, but there's going to be more juicier stories. And it's going to be basically how I grew up, and you're going to feel the pain that I was going through. Yeah. That's what I want. Yeah. I want that pain throughout the whole book. It's not going to just be shits and giggles. It's going to be, you're going to feel my pain because you're going to know what it's like. I was left alone a lot. I was a latchkey kid. All I ever wanted was just a family. It's just, it really sucks. It kind of like, it is what it is. I was just looking for somebody to put their hand around me. Yeah, you did good. So that's what I got from, running around the streets.
Well, on that note though, I try to keep the interviews under 2 hours, but something I do really want to ask you is, you said so much about your son and you said that you are proud of the father that you are to him.
Yes.
How has all of this history you told me about affected the way you raised him?
When he was born, I said I would never carry a gun again, and I didn't. When he was born, I came home and I shot that gun in my backyard up in the sky, and I said, "Thank you, Lord," and I put that gun away. I messed up after all of that stuff that I was going through with my ex. That's when I picked it up again. I made a promise that my son will never have to walk in my shoes, walk in my footsteps, and I did I did everything in my power. From what I remember growing up, what I didn't have, what wasn't instilled in me, to instill in him. I taught him to respect me. I taught him to respect his elders. I taught him never to lie. And I told him, there's a white lie that you can tell and you'll get away with it, but that white lie will chase you and it'll turn into a bigger lie and a bigger lie. And then before you know it, you don't remember what you said anymore. I said, so be straightforward and honest, take your fucking lumps, He's tried, he stepped on his laptop, broke it. I said, Marco, actually, I know you stepped on it. No, I didn't. Marco, you stepped on it. No. I said, I'm not going to tell you a third time. Then he goes, okay, I did. Okay, I'm not buying you another laptop. I go, end of story. You're going to have to learn. You're punished, no video games for like 2 weeks, It hurt me to punish him. Yeah. Because, it really does hurt,
Oh, I know.
But it's something that you have to teach him, And everything I did showed him love. Up until he was going to high school, he would kiss me, literally kiss me right here. He'd go, I love you, Dad. And I'd be like, yo, don't kiss me because all your friends are gonna see. They're gonna say, hey, it's such shit. I go, for real, He goes, I don't care. He goes, I love you. I don't care if anybody.
Wow.
So, I kind of pushed him away from that. I said, look, when you're with me home, whatever, but when we're out there, I go, people are gonna think different because this society, they don't kiss. Men
especially
don't kiss
American culture and things like that. In Balkan culture, that's very normal.
Yeah, very normal, you know? And my son was kissing me on the lips till he was like 6, 7, and I didn't think anything of it until I was like, you know, we got to stop because these people are giving me the eye and looking at me like, you know, I'm some pedophile or something, you know? Like,
and that's just sad. And that's sad.
It is sad. And it's like, and with the Americans, I realized I can't pull out pictures of my son naked, like, because we're very proud of our children, you know? I would be holding them up naked, showing off the jewels, like, yeah, like this. That's like pedophilia to people. Like, you can't do that. Like, you know, so like, I have to hide these pictures in my photo album because people are going to think I'm a pedophile. Yeah. But that's just Balkan culture. It's just, you know, we're proud of our kids. We love our children to death, you know? But we also teach them this Balkan mentality. My son does not know Balkan mentality. The only thing he knows about Balkan mentality is that we're sarcastic motherfuckers. That's all he knows. And he's picked up on that. That's about the only thing. Sarcasm flows out of his mouth like it's going out of style. But I've done everything. I've instilled the fear of God in him about me, which people say that's bad. But you want to know something? I don't think so. Because if I would have had 1 ounce of that fear of God in my dad or one of the people, I was always bumping heads like, well, I can take you. I don't care. I'm going to get beat up and I'm going to get back up again. My son knows that when I say it's law, it's law. He won't do it, you know? Like, I don't have to worry about him drinking and driving. If I tell him, yo, you're somewhere and you have 1 beer, you need to hit me up. You're not driving. Even though you heard stories from all my friends how I was driving on a half a bottle of Henny and I almost ran somebody over. I go, that was stupidity. I got lucky. You ain't going to get lucky today. I said, it ain't what it was 25, 30 years ago. Oh. So I have that instilled in him, and he's got a mad respect. I've never had anybody complain. Anybody in the American culture or the Serbian culture that meets my son always says, if I had 10 of Marco, we can make an army, like, because he's so well, he's always thank you, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. You know, very respectful. And if I say, out of respect, call that person uncle, he knows why, because I hold that person close to me, so he's like an uncle to you, you know? So I don't want to sit here and toot my horn and say like he's the best kid, because everybody says their kid is the best and whatnot. But I'm trying to say,
but he's kind of the best. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's just, you know, my mom always raised me like I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst. You know, I'm great in a lot of things. My son too. He's not the best, but he's not the worst. But I put him in with a lot of people that I grew up with, you know, and their kids. And I'm fucking sorry, but my son blows your kids away. Yeah, maybe your kid's better in school or whatever. But yo, your kid compared to my kid's got swag. He's got coordination, the way he dresses, he puts his shit together. One day he's wearing red high tops with a red, you know, Under Armour shirt. He's got this black, you know, he just puts the shit together well, you know. These other kids are like little mopes, you know, they look like little bums, they got Crocs on, you know what I mean? Like, they got no swag when they talk, they got no, you know, riz, nothing, you know? So it is what it is. I mean, you know, I think I did a good job with him. My dad, you know, I don't talk to my dad anymore, but my dad's never once said, hey, I'm proud of you. My dad's never told me he loved me. I tell my son every effing day, I'm proud of you. You know, he asked me when he graduated high school, he said, are you really proud of me? I said, yeah, I cried when I saw you get the diploma. I was like, you know, he goes, yeah, but are you really proud of me? I was like, yo, man, I dropped out. I dropped out in 9th grade. He said, yeah, I'm proud of you. I said, you're going to do things that I know I could have did, but I just didn't choose to. I said, you did it. You know, I'm proud of you. And he's just like, okay, I'm just making sure. So he's just working on pride. He just wants me to be proud. But I always tell him I love him every night before you go to bed. I tell him, you know, I see you in the morning. God take care of you. God, you know, God to bless you. And I kiss him and I hug him. We hug each other like it's the last time we're ever going to see each other. Because you never do know. I mean, you know, I'm not, you know, physically great. You know, I mean, I may look like I'm great. I'm starting, my A1C is high. I got high blood pressure from all those years of, you know, being a maniac on the street. I got to take pills for that. I got high cholesterol. It's just a shit show. I got bad genetics on my mom's side. It's just horrible. On my dad's side, I got bad bones. I got 3 herniated discs in my back, a fused L4, L5. Wow. You know, I told you I got 4 back-to-back surgeries on my elbow. They reconstructed. The last time I had a guy that reconstructs Navy SEALs, legs and stuff, he reconstructed my whole elbow. And he goes to me, I'm going to be honest with you. He goes, the last 3 surgeries you had were like crackpots. And I can't sue in Florida because you sign a waiver when you get surgery.
Yeah, Florida, yeah.
So the last surgery, the guy goes, if I could put a cadaver tendon in and save your arm, you'll be lucky if you ever gain use of your arm again.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, whatever. So he did the surgery. I wake up and he goes, okay, everything was a success. But he cut me from here in my respect tattoo all the way up.
Oh.
So, dude, I was like gutted. I had a drip line. I was just a mess, man. I was in so much pain, and I'm allergic to Percocets and Vicodin and stuff like that. My skin starts to itch. I just, I'm like, what can you give me? They're like, well, we can't give you any more morphine because we gave it to you during the surgery.
Right.
So I was like, you got to give me some. So they were doubling up on Tylenol and
ibuprofen 800s and all that.
More. I was doing like, I don't know, 15 and 12 or something like that.
Damn,
and I still felt it, like the tingling.
Right. It doesn't do the trick. Just those don't do the trick. Yeah.
So like the way this guy, I don't know how he reconstructed, but he fished my tendons through the bone because he couldn't sew it here no more. So I had to fish it through. So a year, I couldn't train. I couldn't do anything.
Wow.
So, I mean, I could still use the arm. I was doing this like right away, like 2 weeks after the surgery, when they took off the cast, I was in the shower going like this. Okay. It was hard. Yeah. But I did that, and then I started rehabbing myself because I've broken so many things in my life, my nose, my leg, you name it. I broke my hand. This hand, whenever I punch, I break it constantly. It's a bad finger. So if you could see, it's like it's just bad. So for some reason, when I go, that pinky hits, and right there it cracks. So I have to get screws and something put in there, but I'm not fighting anymore.
You're just trying not to punch somebody.
Nah, I'm done, bro. I just pull out the gun. Of course, that's it. It's gonna have to come down to that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But so he reconstructed the elbow, and I went back to the gym, and I went to go see him after a year follow-up, and he was just like, he sees it, I got a little size, and he's like, you're lifting weights again? I'm like, yeah. He goes, what are you doing? So I lied to him. I was like, oh, I'm doing like 10 pounds on incline. He goes, your chest does not look like you're doing 10 pounds on incline. I said, okay, 45. He goes, don't push it, because if this snaps, we cannot fix it anymore. He goes, this is done.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, so another year, slowly getting back into it. I'm good. I'm like, I could do on a bench, I could do like 100-pound dumbbells for like 18 reps. So I could do it. Do I choose to do it? No, because then my rotator cuff starts to bother me. Then I have bone spurs throughout every joint. It's just really, really bad.
Yeah.
So, I need to go get scoped again, which that's like my usual thing. Like once every 2 years, I either get this scoped, they won't even scope me anymore. They're like, look, try to avoid for the next 7 years getting scoped, because they go in there and they shave your bone. They laser the bone and they get all those little spurs out of the way, So now I got a doctor that he put me on some vitamin K, and the vitamin K is supposed to break up those calcium deposits, and it's working.
I've never even heard of vitamin K.
Yeah, I never heard of it either. I went to the doctor and they put me on vitamin D with K. And I went to the other doctor, and he goes to me, you know what? He goes, don't take the D all the time because it forms stones like kidney stones. He goes, take it every 3 days, but the vitamin K double up on it.
Wow.
So I was like, okay. So the vitamin K's got two different components in it. And after a while, what it does is it breaks up all the calcium in the joints, and it sends it out through your bloodstream, and it actually like eats it up. And so this is like, I have a bad, because when I used to fight, I used to throw this elbow all the time. So, and I broke this, and I'm missing about a 1/4 inch of bone on this elbow. Yeah. So they, what was I going to say? Yeah. So, this elbow doesn't bother me as much anymore. So now when I go to lift, I don't have to hold the weight a certain way. I could lift and I can go a little heavier. So if I'm doing dumbbells, I could pick up a good 50 and get a good solid 12, 13 with this arm, where before I couldn't. I had to like stop. I couldn't really stipulate the curl, So it's working, the stock is pretty cool,
Hey, that's cool. It's a different approach.
Like I said, with my son, I'm blessed. I'm really blessed. He's my best friend. We talk every day. We have a good, honest 45-minute heart to heart. We always find it. And even if he pisses me off somehow and I get a little angry or whatever, he always comes to me and he's just like, when we stop this shit, And I'm like, okay, I don't want to be mad at you. I don't want you to be mad at me.
Damn, that's cool.
That's cool.
Man.
Let's communicate.
Yeah.
I didn't have that kind of shit with my old man. My old man was like, fuck you. And I was like, fuck you.
Well, respect to you, man. Respect to everything that you shared. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no worries, man. It was a pleasure.
I can't wait to keep up with you and just see the rest of your journey, man. This is exciting,
man. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
Right.
Look, this has been Pedge Rajkovic. I did it again, I think, kind of. I think I did it better at the beginning. But follow him up, hit him up. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.
You got it, brother.
The most prestigious network in the land, the Signature Series Network.